I have no idea what we're talking about.
You.
And that's because we didn't prepare for this. And that's fine. You know, it's okay. I know that you already cut out 99% of what I say, including some of the best jokes I've made on this show. And that's also fine, you know? Should they be repeated? Probably not. I mean, it's basically like have you heard the Aristocrats joke? It's like a famous comedy bit.
Bob Saget told it.
Yes. And so every comedian has their own version. They get increasingly worse. Bob Saget's was one of the best. Gilbert Gottfried, rest his soul, was the best. And I think that I'm going to create a version of it for every single podcast.
Oh, Jesus.
And I'm sure that our -7 listeners would deeply appreciate that. I mean, we could get a gig at the National Review, you know? It's not like the Bulwark or the Bullpen or whatever it's called, whatever fiber supplement that they named the David French Project, which is one of the lesser bands. The David French Project afterwards. So
you're going in hard at the beginning.
Well, I thought that was what you told me that you wanted. But okay, so
we're not on a date, Mitch.
Mitch picks me up. Not on a date, to go on a hike. Thank God. I'd be dead by now, otherwise. And I get in the car. He doesn't. First of all, doesn't say good morning. Doesn't ask how I am. Doesn't.
This is all getting cut.
Nothing. No, it's not getting cut. We get in the car, and he's listening to the David French and what's her name?
Sarah is
Julia Louis-Dreyfus podcast, and it was.
You missed the good parts.
There was a good part to this?
Yes.
Listening to this is probably... I mean, look. When they tortured prisoners in Vietnam, and they played them propaganda clips, and John McCain was in the hotel, what they listened to was not as bad as what I was subjected to on this car ride. And the reason why is if you want to listen to somebody sit there and give you every single exception possible to a rule. Like imagine being a waiter in a restaurant and you have a customer who's ordering, but they order by weight.
Wait. That's not fair.
Why?
Because the definition, the very nature of that podcast is that it's all about law and what the law says, and oftentimes it is so meticulous and minuscule of the detail that they have to focus on based on the law and what is there within, that you have to talk about exceptions, you have to talk about the minutia. And so I appreciate that kind of thing, and that's why one of the reasons that I like listening to that podcast and I like discussions about the law, and I entertained the idea of going to law school at one point, but was told not to do that.
That was a smart choice.
So that is the nature of the podcast. That is the nature of their work. That is the nature of their discussions.
Okay.
So for him to go into the nitty-gritty detail is necessary.
But it was not law, it was policy that was being discussed. And for example, the policy was throwing out the entire concept of parents having an issue with critical race theory being taught in schools, because opinion polls show that while parents are not thrilled with how their local school is running, or not thrilled with how all schools are being run, they're happy with how their local school is running. Kind of like the congressman effect, where you're happy with how your congressman or congressperson or congress is serving, but you're unhappy with Congress overall. And so he dismissed an entire 2 years of parents upset at school board meetings, of them wanting to know their children being taught, dildo practice in second grade, and God knows what else. Because opinion polls show that parents actually are quite satisfied with their local school based on who knows what and God knows where. I swear. You know that meme on Twitter where they say something like, "Dog, if this is my attorney, I'm going to jail." If David French was my attorney, no matter what I did, if it was a traffic fine I didn't commit, I would be in jail. I would be in maximum security prison. Because if he presented an argument like that in court, the judge wouldn't just throw the book at them. He'd throw the gavel, too.
Well, that is why I would have Sarah Isgur represent me and not David French. Because she's miles and miles ahead of him in mental capacity. Whether that be age or, what have you.
Well, you were telling me about how sometimes she makes such a good point that he's just like, whoa, and just steps over himself, and then they move on to another subject.
Well, there was one occasion where, actually very recently, where she asked him first, what do you think? What did you think of XYZ? And he said, oh, well, I guess it was okay. I didn't have that much of a problem with the statement. And she said, well, I had a big problem with it, and here's why. And she went on for 30 minutes, and then he goes, oh, yeah, well, when I said I didn't have a problem, I should have been more clear. Like, he clearly did not think through it. He clearly did not pay attention. He was just like...
That's what I want in an attorney. I want someone who fucking coasts.
He was coasting, yeah.
I was charged a 20% service charge. So I went to this very, bougie, all-day place in Los Feliz. I wanted a breakfast sandwich because I saw that you went out to Alfred Coffee and didn't invite me for a breakfast sandwich later that day. By the way.
Excuse me?
I was not invited to a breakfast sandwich.
Excuse me?
I was not invited.
What are you talking about?
You didn't tell me. You just came and dumped me off. Like yesterday's trade. Anyway.
I dumped you off to get your car because that was what
you didn't
normally
say
do.
I'm going to get an Alfred Coffee breakfast sandwich.
Because I didn't realize what time it was.
Well, we could have gone to the one in Beverly Hills that has a St. Urbain Street Bagels. Anyway, next time. So I was left starving on a Monday. And so I went to an all-day breakfast place. Don't give that look.
I'm really glad they cannot see me right now because I'm about ready to snap your fucking neck.
You know what? Bring it, bitch. Bring it. There's going to be the first assault recorded on a podcast, and it should be the second after Sarah Isgur Flores and David French. He probably slaps the shit out of him after those episodes.
They're on Zoom because they're in 2 different states.
I'd be in 2 different states if I had to talk to his ass. Anyway. So I went to this, I looked on Yelp, and I was like, okay, I'm driving home. Los Feliz is all-day breakfast place. Okay, cool. I can go get a breakfast sandwich. I went there to pay for it, and they included a 20% service charge, even though it was a to-go order. I was this close to burning it to the ground. It's that place across from the Albertsons, for our Los Feliz listeners. And it was like, you know what? I spent, and this is the most embarrassing thing I've had to admit on this podcast, I spent, with service charge and tax, $20 on one breakfast sandwich. And it wasn't even that fucking good. And I am so angry that I spent that much because it was not until I put the card in, I saw it pop up. I'd already paid for it, and I was like, you know what? I've been hoodwinked. I've been bamboozled. And I have to come here later and set it on fire as a person of color. And that's just... Los Feliz is a Hispanic neighborhood, and my people are being oppressed by these white devils coming in and charging $20 for a breakfast sandwich.
Just so we're clear.
We are.
The one that I got at, what was it called?
Alfred, yes.
Was a bagel with cream cheese, 2 pieces of bacon, a little bit of cheese, and some avocado. How much you think that was? That was $15.
Well, that's why if you told me you were going to Alfred, I would have told you no. I would have told you 3 other places to go to. You could go to La Brea Bakery, bought a baguette, and been sad in French and sat on your patio and spent $3.50.
But that was the thing. I couldn't go home yet because normally when I drop you off, it's a little bit later.
Oh, it's because of the street cleaning.
Yes. Yeah, so. And so when I dropped you off and after I dropped you off and I started to drive home, I realized...
And it was a Monday.
I realized I still have 30 minutes.
And it was a Monday, and street cleaning ends at what, noon? 11. And Beechwood Cafe is closed. All the other places we would normally go are closed.
I kept driving, and then I got some gas, and then I went, what's around here? and that's the place that came up. And so I went there.
Well, I got some gas after I had the breakfast sandwich, but you know what?
So the
$20.
point is,
The point is,
I didn't know I was going to do that
Well-
until after I was far away from you.
what have we learned from this?
I don't know. Don't go to Alfred?
Don't get food without me.
Oh, okay. Then I'll never eat when you're not here. Well,
No,
okay, which is
just
fine
or
with
I
me.
can give you recommendations.
Okay.
Tell me where you're going. I know it's in Mid City.
We have plenty of other topics to talk about.
Do we?
Yes. Vernon Jones, Georgia congressional candidate.
Candidate. So is he a
Yes.
Democrat or Republican?
He is a black Republican.
A Blublican.
A black Republican.
Okay. Like Herschel Walker. So you have
Yes.
two black Republicans,
Yes, in
strong
Georgia.
black Republican candidates in Georgia. First since Reconstruction, by the way, folks.
He is in hot water for
Hot
making
water.
comments about sexuality and gender being a choice.
Mm-hmm.
So I wrote a piece recently about this. So everyone knows my opinion. What is yours? First of all, is sexuality or gender a choice? And depending on your answer, what made people think that it might be a choice? What made Vernon Jones possibly come up with such an idea that it might be a choice?
I feel like there are aspects to sexuality and gender that are biological, especially gender. I mean, obviously, you're born with certain biological characteristics to determine gender, and those biological characteristics beget, to use a biblical term, sexuality, even though I'm not making a biblically based argument. I also think that there is, beyond innate characteristics, obviously societal pressure to conform with what is new and what is exciting and what is popular and relevant. And that can influence some young people to think a certain way. So I think that that's a very interesting discussion, and it's one that should be had by people in the field of psychology, biology, sociology, to understand it more deeply. I feel that's been stymied in the past 15 to 20 years because we have done so much to just automatically affirm choice without understanding biology. And that's how I see it. So if someone tells me there's something, I'm going to understand it and believe it and affirm it. Whatever it is, I don't care. But that's not going to keep me from trying to think, what else is this? What else is at work? When a woman told me, who's in her late 40s, my daughter is non-binary, and I feel like she would have been a lesbian in any other context, but she says she's non-binary. She wants us to understand her pronouns. Also, 4 out of 10 girls in her class are non-binary, and they're Colorado based, so super progressive, everything. And I'm like, well, you have to understand how she actually feels, because she's the oldest girl that you have, and she can say girl, she thinks she's still a girl. She's the oldest girl that you have, and she might be feeling some conflicts with being a leading sibling role, and her younger sister is very girly, and she might have grafted that a response to that identity onto herself. So I can't say whatever, but obviously affirm her, but also try to understand where she's understanding herself and getting that information from. Like, just be a part of that. And these are conservative folks, so, you know.
So, you don't feel that these people could be labeled or construed as gender or sexuality hypochondriacs? I mean, it's become clear to me these people they just want to be special.
No, I
They
also
want to be-
I think that there's a recognition involved with that. There's a recognition bias.
They want to be something else, right? So it's become okay, I'm a man, but maybe I'm a little bit more effeminate. I'm a gay man, maybe I'm a little bit more effeminate. So because I want to wear makeup, because maybe I want to wear pumps, all of a sudden I'm non-binary. You can't be a man and be proud to be a man who just happens to be a little bit more effeminate and wants to wear pumps.
There's no drag queens anymore. They're done.
Right. So, but that's my point. Is we're creating something where something shouldn't be made, right? You're a man who likes to do X, Y, Z, or you're a woman who likes to do X, Y, Z. You're a woman who likes sports a little bit too much. You're a woman who doesn't like to dress up in women's clothing. You're a woman who doesn't like to wear makeup, whatever. And now we're creating a whole other identity for those people.
Well, that's the other thing I've talked about. Lesbians are over. Lesbians are gone. They've been shipped out to a farm somewhere. And soon, the just regular gays are gone. If you have a gender preference, you're gone. You're now being forced to have a multi, quote, understanding of gender, end quote, preference. That's a problem.
So you're feeding into my definition of sexuality or gender hypochondriac. Like that's
Right. Could be.
We're creating a problem where there is no problem to be had.
I'm not in a place to speak on what someone's individual identity is. I can't understand being gender non-binary. I cannot. As a person who is decidedly male, will always be for the rest of my life, even though I don't maybe sound like it on this podcast. I'm a man. I have balls. This is the first podcast where my vaunted co-host has come so close to just assaulting me halfway through.
I won't do it on recording. I don't want there to be.
There's always recording wherever we are.
Oh.
I ensure that just to be safe.
Okay.
Just to be safe.
I mean, don't make me pull up the video
What video?
of my future interview.
What? Joan Crawford and Mommy Dearest?
No, the one I posted on Instagram.
You tortured him.
Of course. I took him to my house, walked him down the street. I don't know why the media acts like the motherfucker couldn't walk. He walked very well. Walked him upstairs, kicked his ass, and killed him.
There.
That's how it's gonna happen, folks. You heard it here. You heard it here last. You're gonna cut this part out, and they're gonna kill me and be like, "Well, we were recording."
I walked him up the stairs and I fucking killed him.
And then you know what? At this point,
See those stairs right there?
me dying up the stairs after you fell down the stairs. I think that's very poetic, even though I wasn't there.
You know what?
It's true.
You pushed me down the stairs. You don't want to admit it.
I did not push you down the stairs. I was passed out upstairs. Up 3 flights of stairs. I didn't know where I was. I was assaulted by a twink. I didn't know what's going on. It was a long night, okay? It was election night, and I saw the ballots come in 4 states.
You were not upstairs, actually. You were downstairs.
I was not downstairs.
Yes, no,
when
you were.
Fell.
No, you were.
No.
Yes, you were.
I didn't see it.
No, you. Okay, all right. I'll come clean. He didn't actually push me down the stairs. You were downstairs.
You're gonna cut that part out.
You were downstairs
Making
on camera.
Oh,
We're not We're not
Wait,
that
hold
drunk
on a
yet.
second.
We're not that drunk yet, and I hear you say, because you heard me fall down the stairs, and you whispered to the twink, I heard something. Go check on him. You said something to that effect.
But wait a second. That means
And
that
he
you
ran
fell
up
down
the
stairs
stairs.
upstairs.
Yes.
Oh, I thought that you fell downstairs downstairs.
No.
Okay.
No.
Well, it's like a game of Clue, folks.
I went up to the third floor, second floor.
Okay.
Because
there was
basement,
where you
right?
enter.
Right.
The
So I
basement
went
is
up
the
to
master
second
bedroom
floor,
where we
right.
recorded.
I went up to the second floor.
Our award-winning election night podcast
I went up to the second floor.
featuring some uncredited people.
I used the restroom. I started walking downstairs.
Why'd you use the restroom up there? There was a giant fucking restroom on our floor.
Because you were live, and I didn't want.
So you
a
could have gone to
toilet
the
flushing.
main floor.
There was no restroom on the main floor.
What?
There was no restroom on the
Oh,
main
so you had to go to the bedroom
yes,
floor.
Yes.
Oh, God.
I looked. Trust me, I
So you
looked.
went up the bedroom floor.
So I went up to the bedroom floor. So I went up 2 flights of stairs, used the bathroom, started to come down from the second floor,
and fell.
tripped over like 1 step because the railing was like not.
There wasn't a railing. It was like a glass wall.
I was half a bottle of vodka deep.
Weren't we all?
Fell down the stairs, fell down 6 stairs, actual stairs. I don't know what I did to my leg because it was all bruised and shit the next day. But I landed like this on my face. I know they can't see me.
Great place to land.
And I'm just staring at the other set of stairs coming up from the basement, and my ear is to the floor, and I hear you say, "Go check on him." And so
That's what I sound like.
up comes the twink, and he sees me lying on the
Dead.
floor, and he's like, "Oh my God, are you okay?" And of course, I'm dramatic, so I didn't move for a couple minutes. And he's like, "Are you okay?" And he went and poked my foot, and then I turned my head, and he's like, "What happened?" And then he
That's the first time I've had
Comedically-
somebody almost die during a podcast.
comedically
or a broadcast.
/ dramatically.
That was the most
laid
expensive
down next to
broadcast
me.
I've ever done in my life, and you almost died during it.
Laid down next. That was the first night I ever met you. He laid down next to me, and he started laughing, and I started laughing. And I
Wait a
said,
second. Hold on. Let's back this bitch up. You two faggots were sitting up there laughing on the staircase with your injury, and I had to hold a show that entire time
Yes.
while election returns were being modified?
Yes.
What?
Yes.
I thought that you guys were downstairs, we'd finished the show, and I was already upstairs. and I
No.
didn't hear you. I didn't know that.
This was very
You're
early
telling
in
me
the
this
night.
for the first time.
This is very early in the night, and I hobbled down the extra flight of stairs, and I sat down. You didn't notice me
I didn't know that
favoring
you
a
were
leg.
I didn't know that you were in pain. I was on a broadcast with at least 3 people that I never want to see for the rest of my life. What the hell else did you think I would do?
It shows you how much he really cares. He didn't notice that I was hobbling down the stairs, and I was basically Blanche in a fucking wheelchair, but
The char, Blanche. I would have pushed you off the fucking balcony. I didn't know I was live. What do you want me to do? What do you want me to fucking do?
wanted you to care.
I didn't see you. I was watching the camera because I had 3 people who were coming from my ass that entire time, and they did.
Well, you probably deserved it.
I should have come for their ass, and I did. Anyway.
I just realized the double entendre, and I don't like it.
Anyway, that was the worst night of my life. I hope that there's footage of that somewhere. You're gonna cut this entire part out, so it doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't matter. We've got the stories, though, folks. We've got the stories. They're real. They're juicy. They're 33D. They're great, folks. They're great. They're pendulous, and they're natural. They're big naturals. Can we name this podcast Big Naturals?
No,
Why?
because we're gay.
But it's a great, it's a triple entendre. It's a triple entendre. We're homosexuals and we're just talking about breasts.
On that note,
All right. Love you guys. Have a good night. Thank you. Bye.